Hi guys, and welcome to my video. This video is going to be about my 10-year anniversary of being let go from a cult. Um, I didn't realize, of course, that it was a cult at the time, but 10 years ago today, I was removed from the group. And for me, that was like the worst experience of my life. I thought that was something that would never happen to me. But the group that it was Jehovah's Witnesses. So I was raised that way all my life until the time I was 19. That's when I was removed from the group and they disfellowshipped me or shunned. Other groups call it shunning. Basically, that's their form of punishment. If you're not basically following all the rules, then you'll, possibly get disfellowshipped. So basically being disfellowshipped means that basically anyone inside the group, the religious group, Jehovah's Witnesses, are not allowed to speak to you, not allowed to hang out with you, just have basically no contact, no interactions. Like, you're basically not part of their community anymore. So I was baptized in it. I was always raised that way, but then I was baptized in it at, I believe, 16 years old. So then a few years later, it got removed. But of course, like at 16, I really didn't know what I was, the lifelong commitment I was making. I didn't realize like exactly how deep that would mean for me, and just like how deep that could affect things if things went negatively. I always thought, well, hopefully things won't have to go negatively. That won't ever happen to me, hopefully, whatever. So, but yeah, that's something I made that decision at 16 years old. Didn't realize it would be affecting me all the way till I'm, till forever, basically. But here I am 10 years later after that happened to me. I'm going to talk a little bit about that. Just have some notes prepared. But yeah, so basically, it was Jehovah's Witnesses. I explained a little bit about what exactly being disfellowship means. That means basically I was 19 years old living at home with my parents, and I wasn't really allowed to talk to them. Like, I have two brothers and a mom and dad that stayed in the house. We all stayed in the house, and it was weird because once I got disfellowshipped, at the time my older brother was in college, so he was living on campus, so he was away. But I wasn't allowed to really speak to my family or my brothers. Those were the rules basically, since they were all Jehovah's Witnesses or whatever. My little brother wasn't baptized in it yet at the time. But I wasn't allowed to speak to them, really hang out with them, like to be seen out in public. They told us we couldn't do that because now I lost my status as a baptized Jehovah's Witness, and now I'm not allowed to associate with other people that are still in the group. So as you can imagine, it was just really weird because I live in the house with these people and we're not allowed to have any contact, and it's like I'm 19 and barely, barely legal. So it's like, it was just really weird. It was definitely the hardest thing that I had to go through, is especially at that time, because it's like the group, of course, they build, I was raised in it, so they're gonna basically isolate you into only that group. And all my friends were in it, all my family was in it. If my family members, extended family members, weren't in it, then those are the ones we really didn't grow up, hanging out with anyways. And yeah, so it's like basically my circle were these people. And then when I got disfellowshipped, basically I lost all my community, all my friends, all my family within a blink of an eye. So from that moment forward, it was just like, you can't really speak to these people. So if they try to speak to you, you have to tell them, hey, I'm disfellowshipped, you can't talk to me. So it was just really weird and isolating. And eventually, like, I was working, so it's like at that time my life was basically like, well, I don't have anybody, I don't have any friends, I barely have family. So I need to basically start over, building up friends and having a community of people, basically, that I can talk to, because it was just, you know, what do you do when you don't have any friends and family and there's 8 billion people in the world and you don't talk to anyone? So it was very isolating. But I'm making this video to talk about just my experience a little bit and just to raise awareness, and kind of just raise awareness of the harm that disfellowshipping and shunning does for people, if, for those that have to experience it. And also I want to just help others and just, you know, kind of make a community for us, because at the time I didn't know anybody else that was disfellowshipped. So yeah, it was just literally like, thankfully I live in the age of social media. So I'm sure eventually I reached out to someone that was disfellowshipped, or I don't know how, I don't really remember who I really started talking to in the beginning. I think it was probably just coworkers. And then eventually I think I kind of found a few people here and there that eventually left afterwards after me. But prior, I didn't have any friends that I think that were disfellowshipped before I was. So yeah, it was just like, I'm going through this situation that's really weird and no one really seems to understand what that's like. So it's like, I'm trying to relate, you know, my experience to people, and they're just like, huh, that's really weird, but they can't relate. And so it was just, yeah, it just made me feel really weird at the time. But for the next couple years after that, I was trying to get reinstated back into the group, basically show my repentance and show how I've changed and how I was going to do better, and basically try to get back into the group. I did try for, I believe, like a year. A year later, I had wrote a letter to basically say like I was repentant, you know, please take me back, basically. And that was denied. And I remember in my meeting with these elders, these three men that were in the community, I was telling them about my, you know, what I had been up to and whatever else. And I remember them just telling me that they weren't going to accept me back. But that's another story. I don't want to make this video too long, so maybe I'll talk about what happened in that meeting a little in another video. But to kind of get back on this topic of you know, sticking to my outline, basically, you know, wanted to just kind of make this to help other people, and just kind of to get it off my chest. Like I've talked about this to my friends and, you know, just other people that I've met. Like, well, friends. I mean, family wise, I don't think really any of them kind of understand or care really too much. But besides like maybe a few cousins or whatever. But yeah. So, anyways, some of my earlier experiences within the community were just, it was like really strict Christian upbringing. Basically, the reason why I got disfellowshipped, I might as well put that out there, was because I decided to confess my sins. And the sin was basically, I was having premarital sex, so sex before marriage, fornication. And I went and confessed my sins to the elders in the Kingdom Hall, and they basically, that's when they made that meeting, and of three guys, and they basically came up with a decision to, you know, disfellowship me. So that's what I got disfellowshipped for, was fornication. Not for being a predator, not for killing someone, not for lying and stealing, and okay, maybe a little bit of lying, but like not stealing, no crime really. So I'm highlighting that because it's like the way I was treated was just so bad. It just didn't make sense for someone to treat someone this way when they aren't a criminal. Like, you just did what was normal, which is to be attracted to you know, the opposite sex or whatever, gender, whatever, and then to act on those feelings, which is very, you know, a normal human action. So anyways, but of course I knew the rules in the group, which is to not have sex before marriage. But of course, I mean, I don't know, I guess I was a little bad and did it anyways. But yeah, so I confessed my sins and that was my punishment. But after that year, basically they kind of also told me too, I didn't wait long enough. I put a letter in after 6 months. They told me I didn't wait long enough. So I think I had to wait a year. And I think that also got denied once I told them what was going on. So anyways, so yeah, so those beliefs definitely made me become like a very modest person, very demure, you know, type of person. Um, yeah, and just very like conservative, but also very judgmental, because a lot of groups like to say that they don't judge. That group that I was in definitely judges. And of course I was judged. That's why I got the punishment that I received. Um, but yeah, so that's that. Um, I mean, if you know, I'm sure people know, if you're watching this video, I'm sure someone, you know, someone that's Jehovah's Witness. And you know, you kind of know how they are, very strict, no holidays. They don't celebrate any holidays, any birthdays. Really only like baby showers and weddings, maybe graduations. They don't really respect getting an education outside of, you know, what's required of a high school diploma. But that was another thing that kind of helped open my eyes to things, was getting more of an education. Because at first, of course, the people in the congregation were against it. But a few people were trying to tell me like how it could possibly help them in the long run of the scheme of things, as far as like the organization, the group, the business aspect of everything. Um, but yeah, so I went to college, got my degree, and while being in college, that kind of helped me use my critical thinking skills and learn how to research things. And that's also another key topic, is that I want to talk about researching things. Is relatively really easy to research, and that's what awoken me to the actual truth of things, because there's a lot of stuff in that group that they try to disguise as something being holy and pure and the right, correct message, and it's really not. So, I mean, I would encourage anyone watching this video, you know, look back into some information before, you know, before 1975, of course. If you know, you know, but read the older information. And that's the thing. It's just that these groups, these high control groups, are going to control the information that they are allowing you to receive. So, of course, like, you need knowledge is power. Without knowledge, you're just a sim. And that's what I was. I was a sim doing their work for free, not getting paid, basically recruiting for free, and growing their business without, you know, without seeing any compensation. So yes, knowledge is power. Do your research. Look into old information. You'll find contradictions. You'll find the actual truth. You'll see that things aren't all they're not all as they seem. So that's, you know, if any topic that if you're watching this, you're, you know, Jehovah's Witness, and you're considering some things that you kind of felt like, well, that never really made sense to me, I would encourage you to look into it. So I'm not going to get into all that in this video though, but definitely do your research. But that's what helped me, like, realize, you know, that is not the true religion. That's not God's word, all of that. I mean, there are some good things about that group, you know, I think every religious group or whatever has some positive things to them. There may be some truth sprinkled in, but not, I don't think that's definitely not the true only true religion. But then also, yeah, every group I feel like has some truth to it, but not every group is the true group. So, but that's what helped me. I did my research. I watched other videos on YouTube that pretty much broke it down for me. Like there's information out there. It's really easy to find that'll break it down for you and really expose the the person behind the mask. You know, so and once I realized that, it was just like, wow, I thought I could see, I thought my eyes were clear, I thought I could, you know, I thought I knew so much, and I really didn't know much at all. Like I didn't know, there was just so much I did not know. And that just makes me a little emotional because it was just very powerful to realize that all this time I had been spending and wasting, really, that's what it felt like. I was really wasting a lot of time. And I really didn't know the truth. Like, to really realize, like, wow, I know nothing. It's crazy and it's really sad, but I'm glad it happened for me sooner than later. That realization really didn't come till a few years later, I believe. I was probably like 23, 24, I believe, once that realization happened for me. But yeah, that definitely needed to happen, and that's what changed me from feeling like I wanted to go back to it to realizing that I don't need it because it's not real. It's not true. It's not the true message. But then also too, it was like, well, now that I know it's not true and I've experienced how bad they've treated me, I couldn't go back to this if I couldn't go back to this. Like, because how would I have kids eventually and raise them in this and subject other people to the type of way I was treated? I can't do that because I would never want someone to feel how I felt when I was going through the first early years of being disfellowshipped. Even now, 10 years later, some family members still, you know, don't talk to me, or it's weird having conversations with some people, or I'm not invited to certain things, of course. So I would never want to do someone like that, treat someone like that, all because their status in a group changed. No, I couldn't do that. Um, so that's what definitely solidified the fact that I don't want to be a part of it, and I'm not going back. But yeah, like in those years though, I definitely had a lot of emotional and psychological, just like toil, like trauma, like turmoil. Like it was just a lot for me. I was just really just in a depressed state for years and didn't really realize. But yeah, and it's like the group doesn't really, it doesn't, that group conditions you and makes you, brainwashes you and manipulates you so much. And I was just so brainwashed and manipulated into just believing like I can only use their information. If I need help with something, I only use their information. And they're only giving you so much information. So I wasn't really seeking help outside of it, out of their information. Like, as far as, okay, what do you do when you're going through having a rough day and you're feeling depressed, feeling sad, whatever? They just say, yeah, pray about it, whatever. I don't know. Here's a comforting message out the scriptures, whatever. Didn't really help to me too much. Um, but yeah, because I remember like needing to seek like therapy. Even now, I would still say I'm sure I need to seek therapy, but that wasn't something that Jehovah's Witnesses believed in or believe in at all, whatever. Like seeking therapy, talking to someone. about all the trauma you've been experiencing, or even meditating. Like that would have helped me a lot, I'm sure. But instead it was just like I have no family, no friends to help me go through the situation I'm going through. I'm I'm not able to seek care outside of, my own understanding of what's in the Bible, because I wasn't even at this time able to ask other people for help to understand the message in the Bible. So I really kind of just turned to like alcohol a little bit, and I guess relying on other, you know, self-destructing behaviors. So yeah, it was just a lot for me. Um, but I just felt a lot of fear, I guess, of just like, would I ever be good enough? And that's the thing that they really, how, at least how I felt like I just wouldn't ever be good enough for this group. Like, could I ever be perfect enough to do right for long enough to, you know, make Jehovah happy? And that just, it's really stressed me out. So it's like when I realized this is not the true religion, it just, it lifted a lot of weight off my shoulders. Um, and that was honestly like, that was when I really started to actually be happy, honestly, in my life. So yeah, I mean, I'm definitely glad I was able to have that realization. Um, but yeah, so like after leaving the Jehovah's Witness group, of course, for a while I was kind of contemplating, is this information, you know, really, what if I'm making a mistake? Like, what if I'm leaving a group and I'm gonna regret it later? Because I don't know, what if, whatever. But then also too, it's like, even though I know it's not the truth, it's like all my family's in it. So if I don't go back to it, I'm never going to be able to have a regular conversation, regular connection with my own immediate family and distant family members and old friends that I had prior. So that was just a lot. So I guess kind of comes to terms with that things will never be the same. And yeah, so that was a lot for me. Even still now, thinking like I broke down the other day thinking about it, because it was like all these years, 10 years later, there's so much that has happened in my life, and it's like my parents are still alive, but they've missed out on so much. My dad thankfully came around now to where a couple years ago to where we actually have a relationship now. Um, so I think that's helped heal both of us in that void, because I know he was, of course, it's my dad. Like, he didn't want to not talk to me, but it's like he was trying to be a good witness and follow and do what he was told to do. So he wasn't talking to me. But it's like, of course, I didn't sit well, I guess, within himself. So that's how we ended up here now, is, talking to each other. I go and visit him. Um, but just reading through my little notes. Yeah, but definitely had a lot of I would say anxiety and depression at the time. And just feeling like worthless, like not good enough. I know I had anxiety even before I left my parents' home, because it's basically kind of like, it's kind of like the norm, I guess. If someone's like living in your home as a Jehovah's Witness, and if they were to be disfellowshipped, it's kind of like, well, then they can't stay here at this home anymore. And I was staying with my parents, so it's like at 19, that's when I got disfellowshipped. Right before I turned 20, it was like, well, I can't, I don't have anywhere to go. I'm not making enough money to go anywhere else. So that was a lot of stress, trying to figure out how to make money. But I was in school and college, and then it was like I can barely focus in college because I got this going on outside of school. Then I have to make sure I work because who knows what may happen. I might have to be out, on my own the next day. Um, but if you can imagine, it was just a lot of stress, a lot of anxiety. I'm really surprised my hair did not fall out. Um, but yeah, I was just super alone. And but I definitely feel like my mental health has come a long way since then. And just my own like confidence and how I deal with things. And just like my stress level now and my happiness level is way higher than it was before. Um, but it definitely that whole situation definitely took a toll on me because at the time I thought it was the worst thing ever that could happen to me. And really, at that time, I mean, yeah, I literally thought my life was over. I thought my life was over at that point. And it was just like, how can I put everything back together and make things right? It was a lot. Um, and even now, it's like I struggle with like fear of like, I guess, not knowing if I'll be accepted. Like the times I went home to Michigan, where I'm from, I moved all the way across the country from Michigan to Arizona, I guess, in hopes to get away from some of the things that were, I guess, triggers for me and just that environment, um, which I think moving did definitely help with that. And it wasn't hard to leave, I guess, because I wasn't close to any of my friends and family from where I'm from. So that wasn't hard to pack up and go. But yeah, being away, moving all the way to Arizona from Michigan, um, it was a lot. But then when I would go back to Michigan and visit, since my mom, my parents, they live near the airport. It's always like that anxiety. I would feel like, okay, well, if I drive by their home and just want to say hi, like, would they accept me? Like, how would they receive me, basically? Would they want to give me a hug, or would they talk to me at all, or would they just tell me I'm not welcome? All that. And basically, yeah, it was the times I visited, it was a mix of those, like, basically tell me I'm not welcome or whatever. Um, but yeah, it's a little like, I remember the thing that had really messed with my mental at the time was the fact that after I had got disfellowshipped, a couple years later, I remember, I'll never forget this. I remember my mom had told me that she basically disowned me as her own daughter, and that she was basically looking for other people within that congregation or whoever else around my age to basically replace me as a daughter. And that right there, like at the time, it was just like, how can you even say that? That you think you could replace me, your own blood? Is yeah. But that was really that had really messed me up for a while. Um, and it's like, how can someone that says they're part of this loving group organization say that something like that to their own family member? Like, that's not loving at all. And then it's like you don't realize like how badly that hurt. And it's just like they're so kind of conditioned to being so cold, and when it comes to this form of discipline, punishment, like they're taught to be really cold. Um, so yeah, it's very isolating, and it's like I definitely could understand and see how a lot of people commit, taking their life because of being so alone. Like it's a lot of psychologicalness behind that. It's not just needing to be around physically near someone. It's the fact of like knowing that a lot of people don't understand the situation you're going through, and and just, yeah, literally losing the people that you knew all your life. They said they love you, they're here for you, they're your friends, and all of a sudden they turn on you, basically, to where it's like they act like they don't know you. and now they're just not there for you. So you definitely lose a lot going through this, through, that experience. It was very traumatic for me. I also remember just waking out of my sleep, just screaming and crying. But yeah, and even now, years later, I still have days, or every now and then, maybe around like holiday times or whatever. So at some point, sometimes, a couple times a year, it's like things still get to me to where I get emotional about it. So it's like I'm not sure will this ever go away. I don't think it ever would go away, the emotions I have, but it's definitely gotten better from where I started from. Um, but yeah, it's like it's gotten better, and that's what I want to tell people, is that things do get better over time, and there is hope, because for people that feel how I feel and can relate, that there is a community for us out here. We do have social media now, so reach out to people, make sure you're able to connect with others that are going through the same thing you're going through. Just know that there is healing. So if you need to talk to someone, therapist wise, whatever, friend group, make sure your friend group is strong. But definitely, find your community. And that's what I had to learn to do, is find my group, find my tribe, my community of people that can actually relate to what I'm going through and can empathize. Or even other friends that are just there, actual true friends. I really had to like build up my whole community, and even like family members, basically, of like, oh yeah, this is my brother, this is my other mom or whatever. But yeah, of course it's not the same, and they can never replace your actual family members, but it helps kind of like knowing there's people there for you, out there that'll definitely treat you how you should be treated, with just normal decency and love. But yeah, like for me, I feel like I've definitely made myself stronger spiritually, knowing that there's a lot of strength within inside of myself that I didn't realize I had. So you'll definitely find that you can do a lot, and that you're stronger than what you thought you were. So that's my little token. It's just that you're definitely stronger than what you thought you were. But I hope everyone definitely that can empathize with me can heal and understand that. But as far as like other encouragement, yeah, I just want people to know that it definitely gets better. And I know I already said that, but who knows? It's like maybe eventually we won't ever have to deal with this. Maybe things will change permanently. I know things changed within the group, the organization, to basically allow people to speak to people in passing if they know they're Jehovah's Witness, as far as like greet them, hey, how you doing? Like, yeah, that does a lot, but at the same time, it's still not enough, and it's like too little, too late. Like a lot of people have been dealing with this, a form of punishment, for years and decades, and for them to finally kind of now try to make a little change to that, it's not enough. But that definitely helped. I feel like that kind of helped possibly change my immediate family's perspective and way of thinking, of realizing that it's okay to talk to me. Like I'm not a bad person, and I've expressed that, we can have our differences and beliefs. I'm not going to try to change your mind. If you're not open to any conversation, fine, whatever. But I think they definitely know where I stand, as far as me never going back to that group. and that's not going to change. So who knows? I mean, well, this will be my life, you know, outside of my immediate family. Well, not having my immediate family. And that's definitely what I had to cope with dealing, is that, you know, eventually when I have kids, whatever other new life changes and milestones, they won't be a part of that. So whatever. Yeah. But yeah, I just want to talk about I'm just gonna wrap it up at this point. The video's gone on for a little while. But yeah, I just want to, I guess, say that since it's my 10th year of being outside of that group, that it's like I feel some type of way, but at the same time, I'm happy about the fact that I got the information sooner than later. But then also, I'm glad I live in the age of social media to where I can connect to people. So I'm blessed with that. I'm blessed with the friends that I have now that I've, you know, vented to over the years, and was able to lift that weight off my shoulders, and they were there to support me. So I appreciated that. But yeah, just overall, like, I'm happy knowing now that I can really finally see things for what they are versus just blindly following and believing whatever is told to me, fed to me, basically. And that helps me a lot, because it's like, I know that I'm not just a sim. I know I'm not just a pawn in this world. I definitely have my own beliefs, and definitely just knowing, like, I'm strong, you know, and it's like I can think for myself. I'm not too dumb to think for myself. I'm not worthless. I'm not so insignificant, you know, but all the things that they told us we were. But yeah, so just kind of wrapping up, it's like, I don't know, I'm just glad I'm here, made it this far in life. Yeah, I mean, if you want a sense of community, I mean, we can connect. We can share our experiences, whatever might help. Just know you do have a friend. And yeah, things get better. So things will get better. So just, you know, and live your life. Enjoy your life for yourself, because life is way too short to be mad about regretting that you didn't have the time to spend with your loved ones, all because their status wasn't, you know, accepted within the group that you're in. But yeah, with that, I just want everyone to have a good, you know, enjoy their life. But I'm gonna wrap up this video, so until next time.